ॐ भद्रं कर्णैभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागं सस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us pray together. Let us pray together. We offer our salutations to the all-loving being who endows all beings with consciousness. We meditate on the Lord, who is the origin of the Thou abidest in all, thou art all, thou assumest all forms, thou art the origin and goal of all, thou art the self of all, thou art existence, knowledge and bliss. Salutations unto thee. May the world be peaceful, may the wicked become gentle, may all creatures think of mutual welfare. May their minds be occupied with what is spiritual and abiding. May our hearts be immersed in selfless love for the Lord. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Salutation to Sri Ramakrishna, the greatest amongst the incarnations of God, and who assumed human form for establishing and firming up their religion, and was an embodiment of all religions. Friends, we have been celebrating the birth anniversary of Sri Ramakrishna through various programs, and now is the turn for some brainstorming or thinking about Sri Ramakrishna's wonderful message. It is that we do on every birthday celebrations that some devotees who, in addition to being wonderful devotees, are scholars of the life and teachings of that personality. I mean Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Vivekananda, and also they are good speakers. So today also the same thing will follow. We have two wonderfully gifted speakers for today, and we shall begin soon the discussion. But first we will have an opening song, a very beautiful prayer to Sri Ramakrishna, composed by his direct disciple, very prominent direct disciple, Swami Abhedananda, who was a great scholar of Sanskrit and a poet of very special distinctive capabilities. So he has composed many poems, and one of them is what we shall be having the recital today. Usually we do that recital on every birthday of Sri Ramakrishna. And it is Vishwasya Dhata Purushastvamadya. So the singers have been practicing here for some time, and we will have them sing now. Please come forward. Two Abhijits are there. One is they will sing, other will provide the drum accompaniment, tabla. Then there is Sukalyan, and also a young boy, Pranav, who is an expert with keyboards and can pick up the tune so fast. So he will be playing the keyboard. So, and you can join in singing. The song will be shown here, isn't it? Huh? Pardon? Yeah, but it will be shown here. So you all can join in singing. Right, thank you. Please begin.
Vishwasya Dhata Purushastvamadyo Yaktena Rupena Tatantvayedam He Ramakrishna Tvayi Bhaktihine Kripa Kataksham Gurudeva Nityam He Ramakrishna Tvam Pasi Vishwam Srijasi Tvamedva Tvam Adidevo Vinihamsi Sarvam He Ramakrishna Tvayi Bhaktihine Kripa Kataksham Gurudeva Nityam He Ramakrishna Samashritya Karoshi Leela Bhaktan Samudhartum Anandamurti He Ramakrishna Tvayi Bhaktihine Kripa Kataksham Gurudeva Nityam He Ramakrishna Nitya-rupam Naravatvayade Vidyapito dharma ihati guhya He Ramakrishna Tvayi Bhaktihine Kripa Kataksham Gurudeva Nityam He Ramakrishna Tato Tyagam Adrishapurnam Krishna-namasyanti Vathanna Vidma He Ramakrishna त्वयि भक्तिहीने कृपाकटाक्षं गुरुदेव नित्यम् हे रामकृष्ण श्रुत्वात्र ते नाम भवन्ति भक्ता दृष्ट्वा वयं त्वां न तु भक्तियुक्ता हे रामकृष्ण त्वयि भक्तिहीने कृपाकटाक्षं गुरुदेव नित्यम् हे रामकृष्ण विभुं शान्तम् अनादिरूपम् प्रसादये त्वाम् अजमन्तशून्यम् हे रामकृष्ण त्वयि भक्तिहीने कृपाकटाक्षं गुरुदेव नित्यम् रामकृष्ण जानामि तत्त्वं न हि दैशिकेन्द्र ते स्वरूपं किमु भावजातं किं ते स्वरूपं किमु भावजातं हे रामकृष्ण त्वयि भक्तिहीने कृपाकटाक्षं गुरुदेव नित्यम् हे रामकृष्ण हे रामकृष्ण हे रामकृष्ण
A very meaningful, beautiful song, very well rendered. Thank you. We have two speakers, as I have told. The first speaker is Ashutosh Kulkarni. He is a PhD student at Brown University, and I invite him to present his thoughts on Sri Ramakrishna and how he transformed a young man into the world leader. Please, Ashutosh.
Om Sthapakaya च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय Ramakrishnaaya te namaha. My namaskars to everyone here and my pranams to Swami Yogatmananji Maharaj. So Swamiji suggested that I talk about Sri Ramakrishna as the embodiment of all four yogas. So I decided to go through some of Sri Ramakrishna's life and his teachings, especially in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and some incidents from his life. So I thought I'll just discuss them with all of us today. So one distinct feature in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna is how fluidly he moves between the four yogas, between Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Jnana Yoga, and many times in the same conversation. Whenever someone came to Sri Ramakrishna, he would always do two things. First, he would encourage that person along their own path. If they were a bhakta or a jnani, he would happily discuss it with them. But then he would also insist that they never say that the other paths are wrong. He would always never say that my conception of God or what spiritual life is for me is alone true and the rest are wrong. So Swami Vivekananda has also emphasized the harmony of the four yogas. And in one of his Jnana Yoga lectures, I think in the lecture on universal religion, in there he mentions, "Would to God that all men were so constituted that in their minds all these elements of philosophy, mysticism, emotion, and work were all equally present in full. That is the ideal, my ideal of a perfect man." And Sri Ramakrishna's life was a complete embodiment of this ideal. So I'll go through the four yogas, and forgive me for somewhat abrupt transitions between them, because it is hard to discuss in a short span of time. You can discuss one yoga and one for a long time. So anyway, so Karma Yoga. Often we think Swamiji pioneered the Karma Yoga activities in the Ramakrishna order, and he did. But I heard from one of the assistant general secretary Swamiji's. He had come to Hollywood, and I heard him say this there. He said, yes, Swamiji pioneered the activities, but the true inspiration was Sri Ramakrishna. And he quoted this story that we all know from his life. When Sri Ramakrishna was in the Kashipur garden house, and he was receiving treatment for cancer, and Narendranath, before he became Swami Vivekananda, came to Sri Ramakrishna and asked him, Sri Ramakrishna asked him, "What is that you want?" And Narendranath said, "I want to stay in Samadhi for days at an end and come down once in a while to put food in my body." And this sounds like the highest ideal of spiritual life that one can imagine. And considering Sri Ramakrishna, considering his life and how frequently he used to go into Samadhi, it sounds like Narendranath was asking for something that was high. But Sri Ramakrishna scolded him, and he said, "You are a fool." He said, "There is a much higher state than this. Aren't you the one fond of singing the song, 'O Lord, all that exists is you'?" So he wanted Narendra to see God in all beings and serve them in a spirit of worship. But Sri Ramakrishna was also very clear on what Karma Yoga is not. Merely doing social service is not Karma Yoga, but he insisted that the intention behind an activity was what made it Karma Yoga. And in the Gospel, there's when Sri Ramakrishna meets Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, the social reformer of Bengal, and there's a nice dialogue with him there. So I'll read out a small section. So the Pandit became silent. Sri Ramakrishna said, "Your activities are inspired by sattva. Though they are rajasic, they are influenced by sattva. Compassion springs from sattva. Though work for the good of others belongs to rajas, yet this rajas has sattva for its basis and is not harmful. Shuka and other sages cherished compassion in their minds to give people religious instruction, to teach them about God. You are distributing food and learning. That is good too. If these activities are done in a selfless spirit, then they lead to God. But most people work for fame or to acquire merit. Their activities are not selfless." So in the end, Sri Ramakrishna makes it very clear that Karma Yoga is not the result that comes out of an action, but the intention with which it's done. And Swami Turiyananda has said in one of his conversations, it's recorded, he says, "The worship of a man as a man, without the awareness that he is God, does not lead to liberation. Therefore, Karma Yoga is not merely doing good to man, but seeing the divinity within man and serving that divinity, not the man instead." So next, about Raja Yoga. Sri Ramakrishna used to give an analogy about the yogi. He would say that the mind of a yogi is always fixed on the Lord, ever absorbed in the Atman. You know it as soon as you see his eyes. They gaze in wonder. They look like the eyes of a bird hatching her eggs. Her entire mind is centered on the eggs. She sees outwardly only in name. And I believe Sri Ramakrishna also had someone draw this for him. And it was a painting in his room. So he kept it there. And this description of a yogi, if you see the picture of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and the direct disciples, it is so obvious what he is talking about. And especially there's a picture of Swami Akhandananda that it's sort of etched in my memory, where he's very clearly not looking outwardly. His eyes are open, but clearly his mind is focused on something else. And I have heard from a story in Swami Akhandananda's life when he went to Tibet, and he had a picture of Sri Ramakrishna with him, and he met the Buddhists. He ran into Buddhists there, and he showed them a picture of Sri Ramakrishna, and they were completely amazed. They said, "Who is this person? This person is not of this world. Who is this person?" Sri Ramakrishna used to give vivid descriptions of his practice. He would say that when he sat for meditation, he could hear someone locking up his joints as if with a key, and that he wouldn't be able to move his body until he was finished with his meditation, and then someone would unlock them, joint by joint. He would also say that during meditation, he would see a form of the Divine Mother pointing a sword at him, so that he would do his meditation with full focus and devotion. Sri Ramakrishna has given several vivid descriptions of his experiences in meditation and how in meditation he began to see the Divine Mother, and finally he had the vision of Divine Mother constantly. And he was a mystic beyond comparison. He not only had visions of the Divine Mother, but of Krishna, of Rama, of Jesus. Again, he would say that by meditating on the form of God, one speedily acquires devotion. Then one can meditate on the formless aspect of God. So coming to Jnana Yoga, Sri Ramakrishna would flow between bhakti and jnana almost seamlessly. One moment he would talk ecstatically about Krishna or the Divine Mother, and the next moment he would instruct those around him in Jnana Yoga. He would say, by discernment, investigate and notice that you are not the body, not the mind, and realize that you are the Atman. But when you look back upon the world, realize that this Atman that you have noticed by negating everything has itself become this whole universe. That they are not two separate realities. And he was very insistent on this. And he used to give an example. He would say, when you climb to the roof of a house, you leave the floor of the house behind. You take the staircase and you leave the staircase behind. And finally you reach the roof. But then look back and realize that the materials that make up the roof, the staircase, the floor are not different, and that they are all the same. In the same way, by discernment, realize that you are the Atman, but then look upon this world and realize that the Atman itself has become this world, and manifest that realization in your life. And there are some nice incidents from Sri Ramakrishna's life, and with Totapuri, we saw some in the video. So Totapuri was his Advaita Guru, and we saw in the video that when he was instructing Sri Ramakrishna would say, this moment I start to meditate, I become absorbed in the form of the Divine Mother. And I cannot discern at that point. And Totapuri took a shard of glass and pierced him in between his eyebrows. And then Sri Ramakrishna narrates, as soon as the form of the Mother appeared, I took the sword of knowledge and cut Mother in 2 pieces. As soon as I had done that, there was nothing relative left in my mind. Then Sri Ramakrishna stayed in Nirvikalpa Samadhi for days at an end. What his guru had struggled for decades to attain, Sri Ramakrishna attained in a few days. Sri Ramakrishna also had something to teach Totapuri. Once when they were sitting in front of a dhuni fire, a holy fire, and they were discussing, a temple servant came by and wanted to light his pipe for smoke, and he tried to take a piece of coal from the fire. At this, Totapuri got enraged. He thought it was sacrilegious, and he threatened to beat the man with his tongs. And Sri Ramakrishna burst out laughing when he saw this incident. And Totapuri was astonished. He asked, "Why are you laughing?" The man was insolent. And Sri Ramakrishna said, "Weren't you just telling me that Brahman is the only reality and the knower of Brahman cannot be deceived by Maya? At the very next moment, you were ready to beat one of Brahman's manifestations." And Totapuri became very serious and grave, and he conceded that Sri Ramakrishna was right. And it is said that he never became angry again, that he gave up anger. Sri Ramakrishna had a very high standard for Jnana Yoga. And he always emphasized that Viveka and Vairagya are to be practiced. And that it's not a mere dabbling in intellectual reasoning. He would say that the identification with the body prevented one from progressing in this path. And Sri Krishna has also told the same thing in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 12th chapter. Therefore, in the Gospel, he strongly recommends bhakti, and finally we come to Bhakti Yoga. Sri Ramakrishna loved bhaktas. He would always say that by bhakti alone, by bhakti itself, one can attain to the peak of pranayama, one can attain to samadhi, and one can get jnana. He would say, ask God for jnana. He would say that the mother has revealed to me all that is in the Veda and the Vedanta. In Jnana Yoga, we learn about the fourfold qualifications of an aspirant, which are Viveka, discernment, Vairagya, dispassion, Shatchampati, which are the sixfold qualifications, and Mumukshutvam, which is a burning desire for freedom. And Sri Ramakrishna insisted that the inner organs, which are the mind and intellect, are brought under control naturally through the path of devotion as well. It is rather easily accomplished that way. Sense pleasures appear more and more tasteless as love for God grows. And he used to give a lot of wonderful parables to illustrate bhakti. He would say, I do not want to become sugar. I want to taste sugar. And he would say, I never feel like saying, I am Brahman. I always say, you are my Lord and I am your servant. And he was extremely clear on why he recommended bhakti for everyone. He says, you may cut down an ashwatha tree and think its roots are dead, but the very next morning, you will see that a new sprout has appeared. The feeling that I am the body does not go away. Thus, the path of devotion is a good and easy path in this age. And Sri Ramakrishna would also say that God relishes the bhakti of the poor, just as the cow relishes fodder mixed with oil cake. And we reached this example 2 weeks ago in Swamiji's class on the gospel. We were discussing this. And although he certainly validated and demonstrated all the 4 yogas in his life, a good bulk of his teachings in the gospel are on bhakti. And Swami Vivekananda has described him as a bhakta on the outside and a jnani on the inside. So in one of Swami Sarvapriyananda's classes, he mentioned that actually the 4 yogas, Sri Ramakrishna gives all 4 yogas in his first instruction to M. So I went back and read that conversation again, and I was astonished on how quickly and crisply Sri Ramakrishna gives basically all the essentials of spiritual life. So I thought I would read out that conversation to us. So M says, how, sir, may we fix our minds on God? Sri Ramakrishna says, repeat God's name and sing his glories and keep holy company. And now and then visit God's devotees and holy men. The mind cannot dwell on God if it is immersed day and night in worldliness, in worldly duties and responsibilities. It is most necessary to go into solitude now and then and think of God. To fix the mind on God is very difficult in the beginning unless one practices meditation in solitude. When a tree is young, it should be fenced all around. Otherwise, it may be destroyed by cattle. To meditate, you should withdraw within yourself or retire to a secluded corner or to the forest. And you should always discriminate between the real and the unreal. God alone is real, the eternal substance. All else is unreal, that is impermanent. By discriminating thus, one should shake off impermanent objects from the mind. So Sri Ramakrishna gives Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, and Jnana Yoga But M, finally, he asks a crucial question that we all ask. I understand that we must practice devotion to God, that we must meditate, and we must discern. But how do we actually lead our lives practically? How do we interact with the world? So M asks, how ought we to live in the world? And this answer, the narrator actually quoted in the video we were watching. One of the quotes he gave was his exact answer. So M asks, how ought we to live in the world? And Sri Ramakrishna says, do all your duties, but keep your mind on God. Live with all, with wife and children, father and mother, and serve them. Treat them as if they were very dear to you, but know in your heart of hearts that they do not belong to you, and by extension, they belong to God. So yeah, I thought this was in such a easy, simple manner, Sri Ramakrishna has given the essentials of spiritual life to us. Sri Ramakrishna's life was extraordinary, unmatched in the history of religion and spirituality. But what is more extraordinary is how he would take the most ordinary of happenings and use them as illustrations in his teachings. His teachings were always a harmony of jnana and bhakti. And he would say that you can never say God is just this and nothing else. And likewise, I think you can never say that Sri Ramakrishna only taught this and not that. However, he insisted that you stick to one ideal and that we either stick to God with form or without form. Otherwise, we will not reach the end. His openness was not to be misunderstood as spiritual laziness, but quite to the contrary. He had a very, very high standard for spiritual life, but also combined with an immense expansiveness and acceptance. When Sri Ramakrishna was asked what the one essential condition to spiritual life to realize God is, his answer was vyakulata, which is a tremendous desire to realize God, to see God. And at this point, probably we cannot honestly say that we have that tremendous vyakulata that he was speaking of, that he saw in Narendranath or the other direct disciples. However, I am convinced that if we even try to cultivate a fraction of this yearning, that he will help us along the path many more times than the effort we put in. So, I'll conclude by reading out one letter that Swami Vivekananda had written. Actually, before that, I think sometimes Sri Ramakrishna was a super mystic, a super jnani, a super bhakta, that sometimes it can be hard to understand him. He was so expansive, but sometimes it's hard sometimes it's hard for me to really understand him. And in the book, The Eternal Companion, in the recorded teachings of Swami Brahmananda, there's a place where Swami Brahmananda says, you cannot hope to understand Sri Ramakrishna except through Vivekananda. So I find Swami Vivekananda's letters to be, and his perspective and his understanding of Sri Ramakrishna to be extremely helpful. So I'll conclude with a letter by Swami Vivekananda. So I think this was the time when when they were discussing writing a biography of Sri Ramakrishna. So he's writing to Alasinga Perumal, who was a disciple in Chennai, in Madras. He's writing from the United States. So yeah, he's responding to that about writing a biography of Sri Ramakrishna. So he says, if anyone can write a real life of Sri Ramakrishna with the idea of showing what he came to do and teach, then let him do it. Otherwise, let him not distort his life and sayings. Now let Kitty translate his love, his knowledge, his teachings, his eclecticism, etc. This is the theme. The life of Sri Ramakrishna was an extraordinary searchlight under whose illumination one is really able to understand the whole scope of Hindu religion. He was the object lesson of all the theoretical knowledge given in the Shastras. He showed by his life what the rishis and the avatars really wanted to teach. The books were theories. He was the realization. This man had in 54 years lived the 5,000 years of national spiritual life, and so raised himself to be an object lesson for future generations. The Vedas can only be explained, and the Shastras reconciled by this theory of avastha, or stages, that we must not only tolerate others, but positively embrace them, and that truth is the basis of all religions. Now, on these lines, a most impressive and beautiful life can be written. Thank you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, dear Ashutosh. Lot of material, lot of things he beautifully compressed in a short time. Very nice. The next speaker is also a learned person, learned lady, Dawn Raphael. She is going to speak on a very unique incident in the life of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother.
Thank you. I really want to start just by thanking all of you, and especially Swami Yogatmananda Maharaj for welcoming me into this spiritual community. Maharaj asked me to speak today about Ramakrishna's worship of Sarada Devi as Holy Mother, Mother of the Universe. I am certain that many of you know and understand far more about this vast topic than I do, but I will humbly offer some words here with apologies for my shortfalls. This talk is called The Holiest of Unions. So among avatars, a unique aspect of Sri Ramakrishna is his marriage. I'd like to invite you for a moment to just envision the avatars in the shrine room right next door or over my head, or if you're on YouTube, to your right of the Holy Trio, you see Jesus, and we know Jesus didn't marry. To your left of the Holy Trio, you see Buddha. And as a young man, as Siddhartha, Buddha was married. He had a wife and a child, but he renounced this marriage on his spiritual path. A seeming paradox of Ramakrishna's life is that he was fully renounced, and yet he was so profoundly married. And furthermore, this marriage, rather than being any sort of spiritual impediment, became absolutely integral to his teachings during his lifetime and in his ongoing presence in the world. So today we're celebrating Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, but the story begins even earlier, before his birth. His divinity was presaged by signs received by both of his parents. His childhood was marked by spiritual experiences. His yearning for God was immeasurable. Already this doesn't really seem like somebody who would marry. As a young man, he lived in Dakshineswar and served as a priest in the Kali temple. And his spiritual yearning was so great that in one of the best known incidents of his life, one day he seized a sword in the temple and just determined to end his life if he couldn't behold Mother Kali. And at that point, she appeared to him. He fell unconscious with bliss. Rather than a culmination, though, we can consider this a beginning. So Ramakrishna's ongoing God intoxication caused him to behave in ways that did not seem normal. His behavior became so alarming to some people that they believed he had gone mad. And when his family heard these reports, They were really worried. They decided to have him brought home. And they, with the best intentions and very lovingly, tried all kinds of things to cure him. And finally determined that although he was behaving somewhat more normally, he was at least eating now, the best medicine might be marriage. So his mother and brother believed a wife would temper his religious fervor. And as Swami Saradananda wrote in Sri Ramakrishna in his divine play, they reasoned that if he were in love with a beautiful, good-natured girl from a noble family, his mind would not be absorbed in spiritual matters. Rather, it would become engaged in improving the family's financial condition. Behind his back, as we also heard in that movie, his mother and brother secretly began searching for a bride. But when none could be found, in part because of the family's poverty, Ramakrishna himself was very amenable to marriage and just informed them exactly where the bride lived, in which family, in the village of Jayrambati. And when it turned out that the girl in question was only 5 or 6, I've read both, but her family agreed. And although Ramakrishna had chosen her, interestingly, it seemed she had already chosen him. So they were already united. In his book on Holy Mother, Swami Gambirananda writes that when Sarada was a tiny child, she had attended a kirtan at the home of Ramakrishna's nephew, Hrede. And there a woman teasingly asked her, "Whom among the great number of people assembled here would you like to marry?" Sarada raised her 2 little hands and pointed to Ramakrishna. Swami Gambirananda writes, at that time, she had no idea what matrimony was, but the unseen power that guided those little hands saw the fulfillment of the wishes of that unerring heart. Their union had already begun. Ramakrishna's family was so poor that they had to borrow the bride's ornaments from the village landlords, which of course had to be returned. And Sarada's new mother-in-law, Chandra Devi, was so distressed by having to do this that Ramakrishna himself very gently removed the ornaments from his bride while she slept. Upon awakening, Sarada asked, "Where are my ornaments?" Chandra Devi consoled the little girl by telling her that her husband would give her better ornaments in the future. This, of course, sounds like something you'd say to appease a child. But these words were truer than anybody could have imagined if instead of ornaments, you consider jewels or treasure. Sarada Devi went back to her home, and for the rest of her childhood, she and Ramakrishna were together for only brief periods of time, including when she was 7 and 14. But these sojourns were transformative, building up to something much larger. So in the latter, especially when she was 14, Swami Gambirananda writes, and here comes a long quote, "He first conquered the heart of the girl and then poured into it all that he had learned through long experience. On the one hand, he held before her an integrated life made impeccable through the influence of the renunciation of all thoughts of enjoyment. And he trained her step by step in reaching that glorious pinnacle through a steady molding of character and heightening of aspiration. And on the other hand, he taught her how to perform the daily duties, to serve the deities, the Brahmins, and the guests, to be respectful to superiors, affectionate to the younger members of the family, and in every way serviceable to the family as a whole. And by basing his instruction on the common sense view of adaptability to time, place, and person, he taught her how to deal with others, whether within the family or outside it, how to get into and out of a conveyance so that nothing might be left behind, and even such petty matters as trimming lamps, spicing curries, preparing betel rolls were not left out of that comprehensive and wonderful curriculum. The feeling of elation that Sarada Devi, simple, pure, spiritually minded, and full of faith as she was, felt from those delightfully instructive contacts, which were full of zest and yet free from all selfishness and passion, can be better understood from what she once told some women devotees. From that time onward, I always felt as if a picture of bliss was kept in my heart. I cannot convey any idea of how much and in what manner my mind feasted on that steady, unchanging, divine joy. Now, I cited that long quote because it beautifully illustrates two aspects of Ramakrishna here. We see that although Ramakrishna was God intoxicated, he also offered very practical instruction, in this case to his young wife. As Swami Gambhirananda writes, he was fully aware of his wife's mission. The couple were separated again when Ramakrishna returned to Dakshineswar, but their union would enter a new phase when Sarada Devi reached the age of 18. Rumors of his insanity had not gone away. They persisted until finally she decided to see for herself. And with her father, she set out for Dakshineswar on foot. During the arduous journey, she fell ill. And when she arrived, it was Ramakrishna himself who took care of her. And she was assured that the husband who she adored was not at all crazy. For his part, he was concerned she would pull him into a worldly marriage and asked, "Do you want to drag me into Maya?" She answered, "Why would I do that? I have come only to help you on the path of religious life." So even though she was a beautiful young woman and they shared a bed for a time, theirs was a purely spiritual, non-carnal marriage. There are many momentous incidents in this holy union, but the one I really want to focus on, and that one might argue is the most significant of all, occurred on June 5, 1872. This was the night of the Kali Puja. On that night, Ramakrishna secretly worshipped 18-year-old Sarada in a special puja as Shodashi, the mother of the universe, in the most beautiful form in the prime of youth. During the puja, Sarada lost all outer consciousness, as did he. In worshiping her as Holy Mother, Sri Ramakrishna elided the boundaries between them on a spiritual plane. They worshipped each other, they were each other, they are each other. This worship would not only have an immediate effect, but it would ripple through continents and centuries, helping to define the Vedanta movement as it spread across the globe. We can look at the effects of this worship in three ways, although they are inextricably intertwined. And although I've numbered them for the purpose of organizing this talk, no hierarchy is implied. So firstly, as Swami Vivekananda would later state, Ramakrishna had awakened Shakti in Sarada Devi. He transmitted his spiritual power without her having to undertake all of the austerities that he had undertaken over many years. Swami Gambhirananda writes, "She inherited the richest spiritual wealth without any corresponding conscious endeavor on her part. And in addition, she learned how to look upon all beings as manifestations of the Universal Mother." So there are the better jewels promised by the mother-in-law. Secondly, he demonstrated the primacy of the divine feminine, putting the worship of the Mother of the Universe uppermost. On an earthly plane, this not only elevated Sarada Devi as Holy Mother in the world's estimation, but also every woman at a time when women were not particularly well regarded. For example, he cautioned his nephew Hriday against disrespecting and rudeness to Holy Mother, which caution Hriday unfortunately disregarded to his detriment. But perhaps of deeper consequence were his instructions to his disciple Haranath, the future Swami Turiyananda. According to Swami Chaitanananda's biographical introduction to Swami Turiyananda's letters, as a young man, Haranath asked Ramakrishna how to be free of lust. Really notably, Ramakrishna did not say that the answer was to shun women, and he did not ask his disciples to mortify themselves. Instead of trying to exterminate desire, he taught that one should direct all desire toward God. The more you go toward the east, he said, the farther you will be from the west. As Swami Chaitanya elucidates, the more you increase your love for God, the more your lust, anger, and jealousy will decrease. Therefore, Sri Ramakrishna instructed Harnath not to look down on women, but rather to respect them as manifestations of the Divine Mother. So this advice given to Harnath in the 19th century in India is just as pertinent to all of us today in the United States in the 21st century. That instead of looking down on anyone, we can strive to see their divinity. And instead of doing what's easy, which is trying to shun things that are negative, we can focus on directing our energy toward that which is positive and holy. Thirdly, Ramakrishna was often in samadhi, and even when he wasn't, he was frequently oblivious of his surroundings. In contrast, Holy Mother was acutely aware of everyone's practical needs. She tirelessly served her husband, her family, and the disciples, cleaning and cooking for everybody, even when she was often in ill health. She would get up at 3 a.m. to bathe in the Ganges and meditate before other people were awake. And in Kasipur, when Ramakrishna's mortal body was dying, it was she who prepared his food and tenderly fed him, while at the same time being prepared to take on a new role of leadership. As Swami Chaitananda writes in Sri Sarada Devi and her divine play, while Ramakrishna's life was one of condensed spirituality that may be compared to snow in the Himalayas, the Holy Mother's life was one of flowing spirituality, like the water of the Ganges. Melted snow turns to water, but they are the same substance. The union of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, which he shaped by worshiping her, not only made them one and the same, but also helps us to understand that spiritual life and service are inseparable. After Ramakrishna passed from his body, Sarada Devi, fully imbued with his power, continued his work. She was the mother of the disciples and the devotees, and in short, the entire movement. Through her, Sri Ramakrishna's teachings continued to unfold in the East and in the West. When Swami Vivekananda was uncertain about whether to travel to the US, she encouraged him to go. In India, Sarada Devi's example of service became integral to the Ramakrishna mission as hospitals and schools were established. Sister Nivedita helped in this as Swami Vivekananda built on the Master's teachings and strove to educate and elevate India's women. And of course, Sarada Devi continued to initiate large numbers of spiritual aspirants as the mother to all. So now, if you're thinking, wait a minute, this talk started out being about Ramakrishna, and now it ended up being about Sarada Devi, it is only because they're the same, because of what he awakened within her. So there's one last thing I would like to add, if I can offer a personal observation here. I began by inviting you to envision the images of the avatars. For me, undertaking this study has subtly changed the way that I view the shrine room. So before, where I saw only the individual figures and focused my attention on them, I've begun to really consider how sacred are the spaces in between. Ramakrishna offered us a living example of the ideal of seeing God in another person, showing us the boundless potential of relationships. We might consider that the spaces between the avatars are suffused with divine possibility, and by extension, so may it be for us if we can strive to realize it. Here again, I believe Ramakrishna has offered us a sacred challenge and a holy goal. So thank you for listening to me.
That too was a wonderful discourse about this very unique phenomena. As she rightly pointed out, that the divine incarnations here that you see Buddha and Jesus. Jesus didn't go for marriage. Buddha did, but then for his spiritual journey, he renounced them. It is, but here is Sri Ramakrishna, who marries, and he was not forced into marriage. Although the talk was going on, and he was suggested that with marriage, all this your mad kind of devotional, this fervor will calm down, and you will become a normal person. Our normal person means what? Like everybody. Everybody is satisfied with ignorance and the worldly things. So that is normal. If somebody is looking for something better, then that is abnormal. But abnormal, one Swami told me what is abnormal, it is actually two words connected. Abnormal means above normal. It is not below normal, but above normal. That it is Sri Ramakrishna came as world teacher and wanted to show that one can marry and yet can live a life without carnality, a life of scattering real divine bliss through that. And what a beautiful incident it was, that worshipping wife as embodiment of divine mother, that it is invoking the, in a way, the Shakti, the woman power. Swami Vivekananda in his letters have written about this, that the cause, he has analyzed this, that the cause of the downfall is we did not respect the Shakti. It is the Shakti is to be invoked, and this worship of the Holy Mother by Sri Ramakrishna is that sign that all women, it is happening that women now are not just they kind of just breeding machines. They have their individuality, their learning, they are showing their capabilities in every field and are taking the world towards a more progressive social situation. It is Sri Ramakrishna as such saw the Divine Mother everywhere. But here, this Shodashi Puja was just a unique incident. One can keep on meditating on this incident for a long time and get lot of spiritual succor from that. It is here that you see that not only this worship was to invoke that divine power in Holy Mother for all the work that she has to do in future. He also offered the results of all his spiritual practices at the feet of this Holy Mother at that time. Take this all, offered everything to at the feet of Holy Mother, considering her as the Divine Mother in the form of Shodashi. It is one name of Mother Durga is Shodashi. So, this worship therefore has a very far reaching impact on the spiritual life of the whole humanity. And as we ponder on that, it becomes more and more clear that how our connection with the other sex, other gender should be. It is that of great respect and less carnality. The carnality should be reduced, because what happens with carnality? One becomes slave of another. It is the every object that we go to enjoy. Look at the psychology of it. You derive joy from that object. Now, as soon as you see somebody as an object of joy, it becomes unconscious for you. It becomes an object. And thus, your awareness is that this is an object of enjoyment, I am subject. And then, as a result, the reaction happens. The reaction is that you become slave to that object. It is, therefore, you see, this slavery begins or persists because of this idea that I want to enjoy this person. So Sri Ramakrishna transforms that no, it is not for this purpose. Learn to see divinity in each other. It may not be possible for everybody to do it at the level at which Sri Ramakrishna did. He always maintained that I have done 100%, but you can do a 16th part of it. I feel that even if we do 1,000 part of it, that will be great achievement. It is the intention should be there. Yes, this is the ideal that I have to follow. Let us not say that it is impossible for me. That is why Sri Ramakrishna actually showed that it is possible. It is not impossible. This possibility is to be, seen by everybody. Why it is impossible for me? Well, it could be impossible at this moment. But whatever is impossible at one point of time, I can now struggle to make it possible. I never could do it. Suppose you just, for example, a baby trying to walk, just is thinking, sees others walking. And what happens? The baby keeps on falling. And if the baby says, only some special people can walk, it seems, I can never walk. See how silly that thought is. Continue, the baby never stops the efforts, continues in spite of falling, and then gradually starts walking. And then it becomes so natural that if the baby happens, it never happens, but starts and looks back, that how was that struggle? It would sound so silly. It was so difficult at that time. Now it has become so easy to walk. Exactly like that. That this ideal seems to be far away. But okay, let us take steps. Let us be determined that I want to achieve it. So Sri Ramakrishna showed that possibility. And as we start doing it, we can see the great transformative impact of it on our life. We start becoming more and more free in our dealing with objects, the desires and the passions, the cravings. What happens with that? We get enslaved and keep on suffering. Buddha showed that cause of all sufferings is this thirst, tanha. He calls it tanha. Because of this tanha, you are scorched. And whatever water you are seeking, that you are running after a mirage in search of water. And so you don't find. It is impossible there because there is no water actually there. And therefore, one should see that no, this idea of getting enjoyment from somebody is itself completely false, because you are joy itself. You are bliss itself. No object, no person can add an iota of joy in your life, because you are itself that. How much do you add to something, to sugar, to make it sweet? You never add anything to make sugar sweet. It is sweetness itself. So, similarly, friends, let us remember we are bliss itself. It is not running after the object that makes us get happiness. We are that. And this is something that Sri Ramakrishna exhibited. And I will come to this as I see now. Ashutosh was exactly speaking about this yoga. Yoga is this science or technology of we are ignorant right now, maybe. But that doesn't mean we should remain ignorant. So otherwise nobody would ever go to school. I am ignorant. Oh, go to school, learn that you will become a person of knowledge. So similarly, we may be ignorant about the spiritual knowledge now, but by following the path, we will reach there. That is the meaning of path. Go on it. And then gradually you will see that the possibility unfolds of realizing this truth. It is all these four divisions of yoga. Actually, it is not that the yoga has only, you can divide, subdivide, but this division is in scriptures, and Swami Vivekananda actually formalized it and presented that the four yogas, as Ashutosh very beautifully pointed out, that Sri Ramakrishna always mentioned this yoga. Sometimes he uses the word yoga, sometimes he doesn't, but the idea is same, that through work you can realize that divine, through devotion you can realize that divine, through knowledge you can reach there, and also through meditation you can reach there. These four yogas, Sri Ramakrishna was an embodiment of those, as Swami Vivekananda describes it in one of his great poems, that it is very often sung in our order, that Naradeva Deva, Jaya Jaya Naradeva. And then this one stanza begins like this, that Advaya Tattva Samahita Chittam Projvala Bhakti Patavrita Vrittam Karma Kalevaram Adbhuta Cheshtam Yami Gurum Sharanam Bhava Vaidyam. It is that his heart is full of knowledge. Inside he is full of knowledge. Vivekananda said once that people think Sri Ramakrishna is all devotion. He has no knowledge. And I am only knowledge, no devotion. Actually, it is not so. Sri Ramakrishna is externally all devotion, but inside all knowledge. I am externally keep on speaking about knowledge. Inside it is all devotion. So, here in the poem he describes very beautiful words that Advaya Tattva, the non-duality is all filling his heart, his mind, Advaya Tattva Samahita Chittam. But then it is covered by what? Bhakti Patavrita Vrittam. It is covered by the cloth of bhakti. So it is, the devotion is there, the knowledge is there, and with body he is doing work. Karma Kalevaram Adbhuta Cheshtam, constantly doing work for the good of others, not with the idea that he is doing something for them, but it is that is how the highest level of yoga is, that all are having the same Atman, the same self that is in you is in everyone. So the work is done as it were for oneself. It is, you see that in the message of Jesus, a great message. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Many times in the talks from the church pulpits, the idea of thyself is not emphasized. It is thyself is very important thing. Just as you love yourself, so also see the same self in all. So that is how one should love. So this is, and then that work becomes karma yoga, as Ashutosh was pointing out, that doing work does not mean karma yoga. This confusion has to be repelled. In society, many times somebody who has done lot of work gets the name Karma Yogi. But whether the work is big or small has nothing to do whether that work is yoga or not. It is, maybe the work is very small, but if it is done in the right spirit, then that becomes karma yoga, in the spirit of thinking that other person to be God. That is one way. In the beautiful book of Vivekananda, Karma Yoga, he has given these two ways of practicing Karma Yoga. One is that see that the God is in everyone and then serve everyone. So it is a Karma Yoga leaning to devotion. There is another way of doing Karma Yoga that Vivekananda describes. Be unselfish. Do the work, serve others unselfishly. And doing that, what happens? Your awareness expands more and more. That it is, this selfishness makes us confined to this body. But when we work unselfishly, there is this benefit that our awareness expands thereby. So that is how the Karma Yoga spirit is described in Sri Ramakrishna's life. You all see, the emblem that Swami Vivekananda designed. You can see it there. And all outside there is the big emblem on all these buildings of Ramakrishna Mission, all publications of Ramakrishna Mission. You will see this emblem designed by Swami Vivekananda. And many told, and it is so true, this is a great work of art. What Sri Ramakrishna, what Vivekananda is drawing there is the picture of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna, not with a head, feet, hands like that, but an embodiment of all yogas. In that, Sri Ramakrishna's image is there. If you look into it carefully, that this is how this Vivekananda looked at Sri Ramakrishna, embodiment of all yogas. As he pointed out nicely, that Swami Vivekananda mentions in a letter. There is another letter that I would quote from. He had written that to Mahapurush Maharaj, Swami Shivananda, that he says, as for me, I am fully convinced that in this age, nobody will be able to understand the significance. See, this statement sounds very fanatic, but the last thing that you can think about Swami Vivekananda is fanaticism. He could never be fanatic. He has criticized fanaticism as if that it is a terrible disease. He was not fanatic, but he was telling the facts of how the scriptures cannot be learned unless there is a clear, tangible demonstration of it. So he says, I am convinced that in this age, nobody has the capacity to understand the message of the Upanishads or Bhagavad Gita or the Puranas except by reading those under the searchlight of Sri Ramakrishna's life. One has to read them under the searchlight of Sri Ramakrishna's life. And then those things start making sense. I can really say that it is true with this person, with my personal experience, I can tell you that to you. That without, I tried to read before that Bhagavad Gita, this, that, and some Upanishads, but couldn't get much out of it. But reading the life of Sri Ramakrishna, things started becoming so clear. And thus, this is how Sri Ramakrishna gave the meaning to all this yoga. How the word yoga is used in Bhagavad Gita, in all the Upanishads. It is many times I mention that in United States and many places, other places as well, the yoga means only certain physical postures. Lot of yoga studios are around. And they, not that it is bad, but it is only a very, very tiny part of the tremendously glorious philosophy and psychology of yoga, that it takes you towards the ultimate goal of your life by transforming. In whatever, if you want to take big strides, fine. If you want to go like baby steps, that is also fine. If you want to go with this baby steps of a baby ant, that also is fine. It is that go, this is the path. Sri Ramakrishna, again in this age, exemplifies that statement of Jesus. I am the goal, I am the way. Sri Ramakrishna is the goal and is the way. So let us remember that. My thanks to both these wonderful speakers of today's symposium, and you will agree with me that they have given us lot of material to think and practice. So we shall conclude the service with our regular closing prayer, and there is one more item that still remains of today's celebration, that is the Sankirtan. And also, I would like to tell about our programs next week. Of course, I will do that tomorrow. So, although it is Saturday, not the Sunday service, but we shall use that prayer today also. Jitendra, please show. May the divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Tomorrow, Sunday, our Sunday service topic is also a very well-known saying of Sri Ramakrishna, that I learn while I live. Jotodin bachi, totodin shikhi is the Bengali statement. So it is a very profound statement, one single small line, but it shows what life is. So if I am learning, then only I am living. Otherwise, it is not a life at all. So, a very beautiful idea. We shall try to discuss that tomorrow at 5 p.m. Then Tuesdays, now coming 2 Tuesdays, it will be the 2 classes given by Rajeshwari Balasubramaniam on 4 important women disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. Many times one gets the impression, especially while reading Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, that it is all about men. And last Tuesday class, some listener had commented that it is even with Sri Ramakrishna, it seems to be all. What word did she use, Charlie? Do you remember? That it is all huh? Biased, not exactly. There is all, something, that. So, because no woman is being addressed there, because all are men. So it is important to know that Sri Ramakrishna had very prominent women disciples as well. It is true that Sri Ramakrishna, to take the minds of people away from this otherwise terribly binding relations, would say that avoid that. And so sometimes, it appears that he was the hater of women. That's not true. So, one of our wonderful devotees and a great scholar, Rajeshwari Balasubramaniam. She will be speaking about the lives of uh, four women disciples of Sri Ramakrishna on coming 2 Tuesdays. And then the Friday class we shall have a replay of some of the old these Friday classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, because we had done it, are doing it for last 6 years or so. So people forget very fast, you know. That is a great advantage for the preachers like me. So I don't have to study. Even if I say the same thing, I say, oh, that was such a nice discourse that you gave, because this person has forgotten all that, you know. It is, and we will choose some very old videos on Friday on Srimad Bhagavatam. It is, one forgets very fast sometimes. That a man went to doctor. Doctor, I forget everything very fast. The doctor has asked, since when is it happening? And this man asks, what, since when? So it is, in that second he had forgotten. So it is, therefore we will have for 2 Fridays, and then next 2 Fridays there will be the lectures by Ivana and Adi on different important themes. So, like that, we'll describe it later, read out what the next week's programs are. So, now we shall have the conclusion of today's this wonderful celebration of Sri Ramakrishna's birth anniversary by Sankirtan, Sri Ramakrishna Nama Sankirtan. And we will begin it in maybe 5 minutes or so, just to take tabla and all there, make arrangements and so forth. Hello. I was telling about forgetting. I forgot the closing song. And good, thank you for reminding. There is still a closing song to go before you get the release from this hall. But this song is very beautiful song. It is actually, it is in Hindi language about the glory of singing Sri Ramakrishna name.
सदा राम कृष्ण नाम गामना सदा राम कृष्ण नाम गामना लगा लगा लगन चरणन में मगन बना जामना लगा लगन चरणन में मगन बना जामना लगा लगन चरणन में मगन बना जामना नाम गामना सदा राम कृष्ण नाम गामना प्रभु पूर्ण काम है, परम शांति धाम है। शुभ कर चिर सुंदर नयनाभिराम है, प्रभु पूर्ण काम है, परम शांति धाम है। शुभ कर चिर सुंदर नयनाभिराम है। ज्ञान सत्य एकमेव वही, यह जग सपना मना। सत्य एकमेव वही, यह जग सपना मना। सत्य एकमेव वही, यह जग सपना मना। नाम का मना सदा राम कृष्ण नाम का मना। नाथ करे मोहनाश, भरे हृदय में प्रकाश। करे भर्म पाश, दूर करे सकल त्रास। नाथ करे मोहनाश, भरे हृदय में प्रकाश। हरे कर्म नाश, दूर करे सकल त्रास। उनकी कृपा दृष्टि मिटा दे, समूल भव तृषामना। कृपा दृष्टि मिटा दे, समूल भव तृषामना। कृपा दृष्टि मिटा दे, समूल भव तृषामना। नाम का मना सदा राम कृष्ण नाम का मना। वही परम सुख निधान, अकारण करुणावान। सहज करे नत जन को परम पद प्रदान। वही परम सुख निधान, अकारण करुणावान। सहज करे नत जन को परम पद प्रदान। वही कर्म चरण बना शरण, तज दे भ्रम नाम ना। कमल चरण बना शरण, तज दे भ्रम नाम ना। कमल चरण बना शरण, तज दे भ्रम नाम ना। नाम का मना सदा राम कृष्ण नाम का मना। सदा राम कृष्ण नाम का मना। लगा लगा लगन चरणन में, मगन बना जामना। लगा लगन चरणन में, मगन बना जामना। लगा लगन चरणन में, मगन बना जामना। नाम का मना सदा राम कृष्ण नाम का मना। सदा राम कृष्ण नाम का मना। सदा राम कृष्ण नाम का मना।
Which strings?
Any string. Ah,
Just try playing once. It's a little bit, it has a lot of sustain.
yeah, I'll try. Huh?
Should I lock the front door? Should I lock the front door?
No.
Okay.
It's okay, man.
Seems like that. To me, you did? Yes.
Little less reverb will be better.
Yeah. Let me.
Yeah, a bit too high.
This one might.
Yeah, this is better. सर्वजीव पापनाश कारणं भवेश्वरं स्वीकृतं च गर्भवास देहदानमीदृशम् यापितं स्वलीलया च येन दिव्यजीवनं यापितं मिदेवदेव रामकृष्णमीश्वरम् ॐ श्री विवेकानन्दादि सत्शिष्य सुपूजिताय श्री शारदा देव्या विरत सेविताय श्री रामकृष्ण परमहंसाय अवतार वरिष्ठाय च ते नमः परब्रह्म पराशक्ति जगद्रूप रामकृष्ण धर्मरक्षणाय जगति देहधारी रामकृष्ण परब्रह्म पराशक्ति जगद्रूप रामकृष्ण धर्मरक्षणाय जगति देहधारी रामकृष्ण जन्मपूतवन्ददेश विप्रवंश रामकृष्ण शुधिराम सौख्यदातृ रामकृष्ण शैशवेऽपि शिल्पगीत कला निपुण रामकृष्ण पक्षिपङ्क्तिदर्शनात् मात रामकृष्ण सप्तवृद्धलुप्त प्रेम रामकृष्ण बाल्य एव विरागाग्नि दह्यमान रामकृष्ण भुवि
લાલ યોગી રામ કૃષ્ણ ભિક્ષુ યોગી સાધુ સંગ માન રામ કૃષ્ણ વિશાલાક્ષી સદ્મ પથે વિસ્મૃતાત્મ રામ કૃષ્ણ સૂત્રધર્મ કાલ પાલી તત્ર તેજ્ઞ રામ કૃષ્ણ ધની દત્ત ભિક્ષયાતિ તુષ્યમાણ રામ કૃષ્ણ સૂરી સભા જમાન બાલ સૂર્ય રામ કૃષ્ણ શૈવરાત્રિ નાટકે શિવાયમાન રામ કૃષ્ણ શ્રીનિવાસ વલયકાર પૂજિતાંઘ્રિ રામ કૃષ્ણ સદા ભક્તિ ગીત દેવ પૂજન રત રામ કૃષ્ણ કૃષ્ણ રાગયુક્ત આધિકાય રામ કૃષ્ણ લોકશિક્ષણં વિહાય મોક્ષ કામ રામ કૃષ્ણ દક્ષિણેશ કાલિકાર્ચનાદિનિરત રામ કૃષ્ણ ભક્તિહીન રાસમણિં તાડિતવન રામ કૃષ્ણ જગન્માતૃદર્શનાય રોરુવન હિ રામ કૃષ્ણ આત્મહનન સમય દત્ત માતૃદૃષ્ટિ રામ કૃષ્ણ સર્વકાલ જગન્માતૃ દૃષ્ટિ ભર્તૃ રામ કૃષ્ણ શિવોન્માદ નિરાસાય કૃતોદ્વાહ રામ કૃષ્ણ વિવાહે કૃતે પિતવા કલમ મનો રામ કૃષ્ણ ભૈરવેય પાદતલે શિષ્યભૂત રામ કૃષ્ણ તંત્રશાસ્ત્ર સાધનેન સિદ્ધિમાપ્ત રામ કૃષ્ણ ભક્તિમગ્ન ચિત્તયુક્ત પરમ ભક્ત રામ કૃષ્ણ રામ ભક્તિ વિસ્મૃતાત્મ વાનર સમ રામ કૃષ્ણ કૃષ્ણ ભક્તિ વિસ્મૃતાત્મ રાધિકૈવ રામ કૃષ્ણ તોતાપુરી વિદિત વેદ શિરસ્તત્વ રામ કૃષ્ણ ચિરસમાધિ મેરુ શિખર દૃઢ સ્થાન રામ કૃષ્ણ સાધન સમયે શિક્ષુ આત્મગુરો રામ કૃષ્ણ ક્રૈસ્ત પૂર્વ ચિત્ર ધર્મ ચરણ નિરત રામ કૃષ્ણ સર્વધર્મ સમાનત્વ સત્યદર્શી રામ કૃષ્ણ एक वस्तु विविध नाम तत्वदर्शी राम कृष्ण स्वपत्नी विशुद्ध हर्ष बोधदातृ राम कृष्ण प्रयागादि तीर्थनगर यटनशील राम कृष्ण तत्र दुःखी जनान्वीक्ष्य मोचिताश्रु राम कृष्ण स्वपत्न्याम् अपूर्वमात्र दृष्टिभर्तृ राम कृष्ण समाधिस्थ शारदा सुपूजितवन राम कृष्ण ब्राह्म सभ्य केशवादि कर्षितवन राम कृष्ण भक्त सेवकागमं प्रतीक्षमाण राम कृष्ण साधु शिष्य भक्तवृंद भृंग कमल राम कृष्ण शिष्य भक्त हृदय कमलतरणि राम कृष्ण नरेन्द्रादि छात्र कोटि शिक्षमाण राम कृष्ण भक्त पाप कर्षणाय राम कृष्ण रोग दुःख निर्विषण्ण मनोयुक्त राम कृष्ण महासमाधौ हि पर ब्रह्मलीन राम कृष्ण परब्रह्म पराशक्ति जगद्रूप राम कृष्ण धर्मरक्षणाय जगति देहधारी राम कृष्ण निर्विकार निराकार परब्रह्म राम कृष्ण सृष्टि कर्तृ पातृ हंतृ देव राम कृष्ण तैलवत्तिलेषु जगति अभिव्याप्त राम कृष्ण सर्वभूत हृदय देश बुद्धि साक्षी राम कृष्ण साधकाद्यनुग्रहाय वपुर्धर श्री राम कृष्ण सुंदर तनु दीप्त वदन कृपा दृष्टि राम कृष्ण सर्वकाल मंदहास रुचिर वक्त्र राम कृष्ण सुमनसा पिछेद योग्य मृदु शरीर राम कृष्ण वेद शास्त्र पुराणादि सार वेत्रु राम कृष्ण सर्व वेद शास्त्र वा प्रमाण कर्तृ राम कृष्ण ज्ञानी जनो यस्य पदेर्भकायितो राम कृष्ण कुशलमते तीक्ष्णमना प्राज्ञ कवे राम कृष्ण दीन बंधु दया सिंधु संश्रित गति राम कृष्ण अपरिशुद्ध गिरीश चंद्र शरण दातृ राम कृष्ण पुत्र शोक तप्त मातृ शांतिदायी राम कृष्ण कुष्ठ रोगी घोर रुजा विनाय शशि राम कृष्ण वृत्सुवर्ण समानत्व दर्शित वन राम कृष्ण सर्वदशा कनककाम वर्जितयति रामकृष्ण आमरणं प्रास्खलितं ब्रह्मचर्य रामकृष्ण निखिलतमोशेषहन्तृ वासमान रामकृष्ण घनीभूत सत्यवयुन हर्षरूप रामकृष्ण प्रेम रूप पूर्ण रूप शक्ति रूप रामकृष्ण सकल कुवासना बीज नाशकारी रामकृष्ण कलुष हरण मधुर धरण भव सुवैद्य रामकृष्ण सहज नित्य बुद्ध बुद्ध मुक्त रूप रामकृष्ण ज्ञान योग सिद्धि मचिर माप भवा रामकृष्ण निर्विकल्प सिद्धि माप्त राजयोगी रामकृष्ण देवनाम निशामगाद श्रुवे मुग रामकृष्ण लोक संग्रहाय सतत कर्म निरत रामकृष्ण कृष्ण योग सिद्धि तुल्य पाद धूलि रामकृष्ण योग गम्य योगी गम्य देव देव रामकृष्ण निखिल योगी पते योग सिद्धिदातृ रामकृष्ण परब्रह्म पराशक्ति जगद्रूप रामकृष्ण धर्म रक्षणाय जगति देहधारी रामकृष्ण वृक्षम हन्यदृष्टमपि भवत्येव रामकृष्ण अज्ञगूढ ईश्वरोऽपि तथा भवति रामकृष्ण माययापि हितत्वात् अवीक्षितस्तु रामकृष्ण हेमकामगणं पुमायेति वेद्मि रामकृष्ण तस्य बन्धुरहङ्कार इति ऋतो रामकृष्ण भक्तिहीन पण्डितस्तु गृध्रसमो रामकृष्ण साधिकार पुरुष एव गुरुर्भवेद् रामकृष्ण असति जगति मग्नजनो अमुक्त एव रामकृष्ण साधु संग नाम जपो मोक्ष करो रामकृष्ण मलिन वासना त्यजेधि साधन कृत रामकृष्ण सस्पृहस्य मुक्तिवचनम् अस्ति किं नु रामकृष्ण आत्मजयस्त्रीषु मातृभाव एव रामकृष्ण श्रद्धधान इमां मुक्तिम् अचिरमाप रामकृष्ण ईश्वरे प्रपत्तिरस्ति सुलभपथौ रामकृष्ण विना शुद्ध मलिन विवेकेन मृगो रामकृष्ण परानुरक्त ईश्वरे मुक्त एव रामकृष्ण ज्ञान कर्म भक्ति पथा विमुक्तिदा रामकृष्ण निर्गुणं च गुणयुतं च परब्रह्म रामकृष्ण ईश्वरोऽपि याचनाधि कृष्णेरभूत रामकृष्ण हरेर्नाम गृहे यस्य भयं नास्ति रामकृष्ण पराशक्ति जगद्रूप रामकृष्ण धर्म रक्षणाय जगति देहधारी रामकृष्ण अनायास मृत्युमेव यच्छ गुरो रामकृष्ण दैन्यशून्य जीवनं प्रयच्छ देव रामकृष्ण क्लेशरहितमेव मनो मे कुरुष्व रामकृष्ण सत्यपूतवचो मेस्तु मुखे सदा रामकृष्ण अहिंसा च रक्तगता भवतु हरे रामकृष्ण पुण्यपाप विवेकोऽपि भवेदेव रामकृष्ण ब्रह्मचर्य शक्तिरस्तु मे हि मनसि रामकृष्ण गृध्रवृत्तिमदीय हृदि च सास्तु रामकृष्ण मतिं देहि बलं देहि पदे स्थलं रामकृष्ण शुद्धभक्तिरपि तवास्तु पदाम्बुजे रामकृष्ण राम एव कृष्ण एव भवान् उभय रामकृष्ण ब्रह्मरूप शक्तिरूप परमहंस रामकृष्ण परब्रह्म पराशक्ति जगद्रूप रामकृष्ण धर्मरक्षणाय जगति देहधारी रामकृष्ण परब्रह्म पराशक्ति जगद्रूप रामकृष्ण धर्मरक्षणाय जगति देहधारी रामकृष्ण आनन्ददायका परमहंस आनन्ददायका परमहंस कालीप्रिया गदाधरा रामकृष्ण कालीप्रिया गदाधरा रामकृष्ण धर्मस्वरूपा धर्मरक्षका शारदा मनोहरा शान्तिदायका धर्मस्वरूपा धर्मरक्षका शारदा मनोहरा शान्तिदायका आनन्ददायका परमहंसा आनन्ददायका परमहंसा कालीप्रिया गदाधरा रामकृष्ण कालीप्रिया गदाधरा रामकृष्ण कालीप्रिया गदाधरा रामकृष्ण आनन्ददायका परमहंसा कालीप्रिया गदाधरा रामकृष्ण 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 कालीप्रिया गदाधरा रामकृष्ण जय श्री रामकृष्ण देव की जय. Oh, we have to chant this. ब्रह्मानन्दं शिवं शान्तं प्रेमरूपं निरञ्जनं योगीशमद्भुतं नित्यम् अखण्डाद्वैतलक्षणम् विज्ञानं त्रिगुणातीतं तुरीयाभेदसंज्ञितं सुबोधं सारदंश्चैव विवेकशशिभूषणम् समन्वयमहाचार्यं युगधर्मस्वरूपिणं सर्वदेवस्वरूपं श्रीरामकृष्णं नमाम्यहम् सर्वदेवस्वरूपं श्रीरामकृष्णं नमाम्यहम्. We shall now only say Jai. जय श्री रामकृष्ण देव की जय जय श्री शारदा देवी की जय जय श्री स्वामी विवेकानंद की जय जय श्री बुद्धदेव की जय जय श्री जीसस क्राइस्ट की जय. Let us meditate for a few minutes and then go down for this supper.